Good morning, students. Whatever has been included in term 1 portion, that has already been taught. But when you see the term 1 portion in the diary, a few chapters were not taught. So you will not be deprived of the teaching of those particular chapters. So I will be continuing to teach whatever is left out of the term 1 portion which has been printed in the diary. So today I will be teaching you the supplementary readers, unit 3, Iswaran the storyteller. Certain people around you in the society or in your friend circle also are very good in narrating stories. You sometimes feel that their narration is actually things which have happened in reality, incidents which have occurred in reality, because they talk so promisingly that you start believing in them. But only a few have this particular gift. So in this chapter also, in this story also, there's one person who's got the gift of creating a visual effect of something happening. May it be a true story or may it be a proxy one, but he's very good at making up stories. Like he is very good at narration also and making up stories also. So let's see what happens in the story. Iswaran the storyteller. The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra by name. So Ganesh was told this story by Mahendra, and that Ganesh was a very young man. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams and so on. So this kind of a job will require movement from one place to another. They cannot settle down at one place because these construction sites are all over the place. So wherever the construction site would be, they will have to go over there. So Ganesh had to move from one place to another. Mahendra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at the work site. Not Ganesh dear, Mahendra's job. Mahendra was the person who used to move from one place to another. He had to keep on moving from place to place every now and then as ordered by his head office, from a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site, from there after a few months to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. So he was like, his life was like a nomadic person. Though nomads don't have any fixed structure to live under, like they don't have homes, they build homes, they live in tents. With this person at least had places to live in. Now Mahendra had heard whatever he is going to narrate to Ganesh from somebody. And who was he? Mahendra himself was a bachelor. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions, whether it was an ill-equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of a stone quarry. Now, wherever you would, like bachelors don't have much of demands, they would get accustomed to any kind of circumstances they have to live in. So even if he would get a well-equipped, like all amenities present in a circuit house, he would be okay with it. Or if he would be told to stay in a makeshift canvas tent also, he would be okay with it. And stone quarries are those places from where the stones are extracted to take out minerals from it. One asset he had was his cook. Now the main person over here is the cook, Iswaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes and chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. So anecdotes are nothing but short, amusing stories. So he could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. So whatever subject you would give him, he would have a story to narrate to you. Iswaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of a desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. Even if the places where this person Mahendra was posted, if those miles around there were no shops, but this fellow had the capacity of procuring from some nook and corner vegetables and ingredients to cook. So he would miraculously conjure up the most delicious dishes made first with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at the new workplace. Not only was he capable of procuring things for this person, he also would make new dishes that were tasty ones from whatever available resources he had at that particular place. Mahendra would be early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Meanwhile, Iswaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering a prayer all the while. So these were his daily chores, what he did for Mahendra. It would be lunchtime by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Iswaran in a thrall. A thrall is something you get engrossed by something. So this book of his had descriptions which would literally catch him by his imagination before he would doze off. Like if he was when he would doze off, he would stop reading. But till then, he would definitely go through page to page, word to word, seeing what this particular book is, what is written in that particular book. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by the Tamil authors that he read. So when you are a very good orator, a very good narrator, you definitely have some content what you read, which you come across every day. When he was narrating even the smallest of incidents, he would try to work in suspense and a surprise ending into the account. Even if the simplest of all incidents had to be narrated by this Iswaran, he would make it into kind of cinematography over here, like kind of movements where you can imagine things happening over there, even the simplest of all incidents. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, now a tree fell off, it got uprooted and fell off on the highway. Now this is a simple language, but you and I would say, I saw an uprooted tree fallen on the highway over there. Now if he has to say it, with eyebrows suitably arched, this is called arch of the eyebrows, and hands held out in a dramatic gesture. Now when you speak, when you have to communicate very nicely, your hands also move. This road was deserted. Deserted means wahan koi nahi tha. And I was alone. This is how he describes the incident. Okay. Suddenly I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. Now sprawled over here means spread over a large area. So see, only a tree fallen on the ground, uprooted tree fallen on the ground. He is describing it to be a large bushy beast which had covered the entire space of the road. I was half inclined to turn and go back. This is how he describes his movement. But as he came closer, I saw that it was a fallen tree with its dry branches spread out. Mahendra would stretch himself back in his canvas chair and listen to Iswaran's tales uncritically. Now this guy wouldn't ever criticize him as to what is he saying. Then he would not even check on him that you speak simple language, don't exaggerate and speak. So he was actually a good listener. The place I come from is famous for timber. Timber is a kind of wood. Iswaran would begin. There is a richly wooded forest all around. The logs are hauled onto the lorries by elephants. Now hauled means pulled or dragged. The elephants are used to do this job of loading the timber onto the trucks. They are huge, well-fed beasts. Elephants obviously are huge in size. They are well-fed. So his description, his adjectives go on adding life to the story over here. When they turn wild, even the most experienced mahout is not able to control them. So he says if they turn wild and they go out of control, even the trainers find it very difficult to control these elephants. After this prologue, Ishwaran would launch into an elaborate anecdote involving an elephant. So this was actually, a prologue is actually the introductory part of it which was to be said, and then he has a whole tale of the story coming up. So I will stop for this particular lecture over here, and then the rest of it I will be teaching you in the next lecture. Thank you.